Hey guys, how you doing? Josh from J Media here, and today we're going to be talking about how to balance your 3-axis gimbal stabilizer. So I have the Laing P-03 stabilizer, and if you're watching this video and you're wondering how to balance your Glidecam or Flycam or any type of brand stabilizer, you should still watch this video because this stabilizer is really similar to all the other gimbal stabilizers out there. So I do suggest that you do watch this video because it will help you out quite a bit. Step number 1, get a stand or tripod of some kind so that way you'll be able to mount your stabilizer and you'll be a lot more comfortable. Now you'll only need your stand or a tripod for the initial balance, the first balance that you do. After your first balance, you'll be able to rebalance the stabilizer a lot more easily because you already know your settings and where stuff has to be on your stabilizer. So you won't need the stand for that. You'll just be able to put your camera on here and boom, already start stabilizing easily. So let's go ahead and mount the stabilizer onto your stand or tripod. And let's talk about weight. Our main goal here is to stay as light as possible, okay? We want to make sure that there's more weight on the top than there is on the counterbalancing weights here. Our goal is to be more top heavy. Now if you saw my other Laing P-03 stabilizer video, you can notice that when I move it back and forth or left to right, it wobbles too much. That's because I was too bottom heavy. I had way too much weight on the bottom and it was counteracting the weight that was on top, causing that wobbling, okay? So let's talk about how we can be as light as possible for the camera. Rule number 1, stay away from heavy lenses. Telephoto lenses? No way. You want to stay with the prime lenses. I have a nice Canon 50mm prime lens. Let's go ahead and use this for our cameras. I'm going to be using a 5D Mark II today. Alright, so my 50mm lens is now mounted onto my 5D and we're ready to get started. Now if you plan on investing in these types of stabilizers, you must, some people say they recommend, but I say you must buy a quick release plate. Now what's a quick release plate? It's basically a plate that allows you to remove your camera from the stabilizer quickly so you can mount it on any other type of tool, for example a monopod or a tripod or a shoulder rig. So it makes it really easy if you have a quick release plate. And plus you won't have to make such huge rebalances when you mount the camera back onto the stabilizer. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take off my slow release plate. That's what I'm going to call it on the stabilizer. The stabilizer comes with its own camera mounting plate, but I'm going to call it the slow release plate because it takes forever to take off and take on without doing major balancing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take off this plate, the slow release plate. Alright, so here's my slow release plate. Let's go ahead and mount our quick release plate. So you want to keep in mind that your quick release plate should be centered onto the stabilizer's plate, okay? And this is a Giotto's MH621 quick release plate, $30 on Amazon and eBay, so it's pretty cheap and really nice quality too. So I suggest you go and buy one. So once it's been screwed onto your slow release stabilizer plate, let's go ahead and mount this whole assembly onto your stabilizer. Now each stabilizer has different knobs and different tensioners that you have to work with to install your plate system. So I'm not going to cover that because it's completely different for each stabilizer. But if you look at my Laing P-03 review video, you'll be able to tell what these silver knobs do. I do cover that in that video. But Glidecams and Flycams have different types of knobs and they do different things. So I'm not going to really cover how I put on the sliding plate assembly. It's really easy, really straightforward. I think you guys can figure it out. Our sliding plate assembly has been installed. Now let's go ahead and remove our quick release plate. Let's go ahead and screw it onto our camera. Alright, our quick release plate has been installed on our camera and we're ready to start the official balancing. But before we mount the camera onto the stabilizer, let's go ahead and load the stabilizer with a few of our counterweights. okay? You never want to put on your camera when there's no counterweights there. Otherwise, your camera's going to flop back and you might damage it, all right? So we have our counterbalancing weights. And these weights are extremely similar on all the Flycam and Glidecam stabilizers, so I will cover how to install it. It's really simple. At the sled, the bottom here, you have 2 wing nuts, all right? Simple, right? All you have to do, remove the wing nuts, and you'll be able to install your counterbalancing weights. Here are the wing nuts, and here's a little close-up on how it looks like with no weights on there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and slip on the weights onto the sled. You can call this a sled. The sled is basically the part where you mount on your counterweights. You can call it a sled or the foot or whatever you want, but it's usually called the sled. Now here's the thing, with these types of systems you want to be really patient for your initial balancing, because your initial balancing is basically going to be trial and error. Is there too much weight? Is there not enough weight? That's the type of process we're going to go through in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with just adding 1 plate on each side of the stabilizer. And I'm going to go ahead and put on my wing nuts again and tighten it. Once the counterbalancing weights are tightened with the wing nuts, let's go ahead and put it back onto our tripod here, or stand. And let's make sure that the stabilizer is facing forward, okay? Alright, there we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab our camera here. Okay, so now we're ready to add on our camera. Now before we add on the camera, you want to make sure that the stabilizer's plate is tightened, okay? You want to make sure it's tightened. Just a little bit, not too much, because we want to still be able to adjust the plate forward or back. So you want to adjust it or tighten it just enough so it wouldn't slide forward or back on its own, okay? So let's go ahead and grab our camera and slide it onto our quick release system here. And let's go ahead and tighten our quick release system so the camera is firmly set in there. Let's see how the camera balances. Okay, so right now you can see how the camera is balanced. Honestly, it doesn't look too bad for just having only 1 plate on each side. I think we can work with this weight in order to get perfect balance. Now, if my camera was flopping over like this or like that, then I would suggest adding more counterweight. But if it's, you know, tilting to the side just a little bit, I think we can work with this light weight and get to the stabilization and balancing part fairly easy. So let's go ahead and look at this whole entire assembly here. We have a whole bunch of different adjustments. Now we have 2 different types of levelers on the system. This is on the Glidecam as well, and Flycam, I believe. I used to have a Flycam, but I don't remember if it had these bubbles here. But you will have it on your quick release system. So just in case you don't have it on your stabilizer, you'll have it on your quick release. You need to use these, okay? That's why they put them on here, so you can be perfectly leveled, all right? These are your guides. Now on the Laing, as I said before, there are different adjustment knobs here, and I will have to go through with it in order to get perfect balance. So you guys are going to see what I'm going to do. This silver knob on the left here moves the camera from left to right or right to left. We have another silver knob here which pushes our camera forward or backward, okay? So I want to go ahead and work with the forward and backward adjustment here. So I'm going to go ahead and help the stabilizer stand up straight and just push the slow release plate back a little bit, because it was, as you noticed before, it was pointing down a little bit. So I want to push the camera back in order to counteract that. Okay. Now if we check our bubbly here, we're almost centered. Okay, so I want to push it back a little bit more. That was a little too much, so push it back, push it forward a little bit. Okay, it looks like we're centered. Okay, once we're centered, you want to go ahead and tighten up that tensioner to restrict the camera from moving forward or backward. Tighten it tight, okay? For the Laing stabilizer, the tensioner is on this side right here. Just tighten it tight, okay? Now we gotta work on the camera balancing on the x-axis, so left to right. And we have this adjustment knob right here, okay? So if the camera goes to the right, my right, I wanna push the camera to the left to counteract that. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the silver knob and turn it so that way the camera moves to the left. Okay. We're getting really close here. Oh, let me look at my leveler. Wow, yeah. That looks good, you guys. Maybe a little bit more to the right. Okay, let's go ahead and check our level here, guys. I'm gonna show you. The camera is perfectly centered on the y-axis. You can see by this bubble here, it's perfectly in the center, as you can see. So we're good on the y-axis. Let's go ahead and take a look at our x-axis. Look at our bubble there. Does it look centered? I don't think so. I don't think so. The bubble is telling us that we need to push the camera to the right a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do that. Loosen up the tensioner just a little bit. You don't want to leave it too loose. You want to leave some tension in there. That way you can make finer and smaller adjustments. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at our bubble here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for you guys. Alright, look at that. It looks like we're centered. The bubble is directly in the center. So that's really good. That means we're perfectly balanced. Alright, so that's a pretty good sign there. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now, if you're not able to achieve perfect balance with such light counterbalancing weight, before thinking about adding more counterbalancing weight, you have another option of dropping your telescopic post. You can just loosen this knob up and it will drop the post down. So this will add a little bit more weight if you think that you're not balanced enough. So that's going to help out quite a bit. Now if you do put on a different lens, a larger lens, a heavier lens, you're going to add more counterbalancing weight. So it's logic right there. So let's go ahead and test our static balance. How does the camera behave when standing still? It looks really nice. I'm really happy with it. Okay, how about dynamic balance? How does it behave when we move the camera? Wow, no wobbling. Left to right, no wobbling. Okay, so I fixed that issue from our last video there. No wobbling. It's pretty perfect here. I'm really happy with the result. Okay, so that's the type of stuff you need to look for. So that's how to balance your stabilizer. Thank you guys so much for watching. If something is still not clear, go ahead and leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. Thank you so much for watching. And I now have a website online. It's called joshmorganmedia.com. You can check it out. I eventually plan to have a blog on that website so all of us can share our ideas and filming adventures. Alright, so thank you guys so much for checking this video out and have fun shooting. Bye-bye.